Hello there, my sleepy travelers. Tonight, we drift far to the north, into the old kingdom of Skyrim, to a warm tavern in the walled city of Whiterun, where the fire burns low and gold, and the old tales run long. If you enjoy these tales, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're listening from tonight. It really helps others find our cozy little corner. Before we begin, take a slow breath in and let it go. Let your shoulders drop and let your eyes close whenever they're ready. But for now, let's get cozy, settle in, and step in out of the cold, into the Bannered Mare. The snow had been falling since the last of the daylight, and by the time you came down off the high plain, the road had all but vanished beneath it. You had been walking a long while. The tundra of Whiterun Hold is a wide and open country, all pale grass and low stone and wind, and in the summer it is gentle enough, but on a winter night like this one, it becomes a great grey emptiness, and the wind comes down off the mountains with nothing to stop it, and it finds every gap in a traveller's cloak. You had stopped feeling your fingers some miles back. Your breath came in pale clouds that the wind tore away as soon as they formed, and still you walked, one slow step after another, because there was nothing else to do but walk, and because you knew that somewhere ahead of you, up on its hill above the plain, there was a city with walls and gates and fires burning behind them. And then you saw it. Whiterun, rising out of the snow like something remembered from a dream. Its walls were dark and strong against the falling white, and above them you could see the shapes of the city climbing the hill, roofs heavy with snow, and at the very top, faint and far, the great old hall of the kings with its carved dragon heads and its high wooden gables. But it was not the palace that drew you. It was the smaller lights, the low warm lights scattered through the city, spilling gold from 100 small windows, each one a hearth, each one a room where someone was warm tonight. You went up toward the gates, and the guards there looked at the frost in your hair and stood aside without much fuss, the way they do for one more traveller the snow has driven in, and the great doors closed behind you, and the wind fell away to a murmur. Inside the walls, the snow came down softer, drifting between the wooden houses, settling on the eaves and the wood piles and the empty market stalls. The streets were near empty, for it was late and cold, and those few folk still abroad went hurrying, heads down, cloaks pulled tight. But there, just up from the gate, where the road split around a great dead tree grown pale and bare in the middle of the square, you saw the sign, a wooden board swinging gently in the wind, painted with the shape of a horse, and beneath it a door, and around the edges of that door a warm and living light, and from somewhere behind it the low sound of voices, and the smell, faint on the cold air, of wood smoke, and roasting meat and warm spiced mead. The Bannered Mare. You had not known how tired you were until that very moment. It was as though the warmth reached out through the door and took you gently by the sleeve. You crossed the last of the square, and you set your hand to the door, and you pushed, and it gave. Inside, the warmth met you like a living thing. It wrapped around your cold face and your frozen hands, and it drew you in over the threshold, and the door swung shut behind you, and the storm became only a soft grey voice beyond the walls. The Bannered Mare was round and warm and low-beamed, built about a great central fire pit where the flames burned steady in a ring of blackened stone, and above the fire a whole spit of meat turned slowly, dripping and hissing, sending up a smell that made your empty stomach turn over. The light of the fire climbed the wooden pillars and pooled in the rafters, where bundles of dried herbs and strings of garlic hung, turning slowly in the rising heat. A wooden stair curved up to a gallery above, and all around the fire there were benches and tables and low stools, worn smooth by years of use, and scattered among them perhaps a dozen folk, nursing their cups, speaking low, a big Nord in a fur-collared coat, 2 women with their heads bent close in talk, an old farmer asleep already, chin on his chest. None of them looked at you with anything but mild and passing interest. You were only one more traveller, come in out of the snow, as travellers have always done. A woman came toward you from behind the long counter, wiping her hands on her apron. She was broad and steady, with a strong plain face and greying hair bound back out of the way, and her eyes went over you once, quick and kind, taking in the frost in your hair, and the stiffness in your hands, and the weariness in the way you stood. This was Hulda, who kept the mare, though you would not learn her name until later. She did not waste words. She took you by the elbow and steered you, without asking, toward the warmest bench of all, the one drawn up close beside the fire, and she pressed you down onto it with a firm and motherly hand. And she was gone and back again before you had properly settled, with a wooden cup between her palms that steamed in the firelight. You wrapped your stiff fingers around it. It was mead, warmed by the fire and spiced with something sweet, honey and clove, and a little something that caught pleasantly at the back of the throat. And you breathed the steam of it first, and then you drank, and the warmth of it slid all the way down into the cold center of you, and began, very slowly, to thaw it. You let out a long breath. The road was behind you now. The snow, the wind, the great grey empty plain, all of it was behind you, out beyond the walls, and it could not reach you here. Here there was only the fire, and the low turning of the herbs above your head, and the murmur of quiet voices, and the deep settled peace of an old room that has kept travellers warm through 100 hard winters. You leaned your back against the wooden pillar, and you felt your shoulders come down from around your ears for the first time in many hours, and you watched the flames, and you let yourself, at last, be still. It was not long before someone came and sat down beside you. He was old. He lowered himself onto the bench with the slow and careful dignity of a man whose knees have opinions about the cold, and he arranged an old grey travelling cloak about his shoulders, and he let out a small and contented sound as the fire found his face. His beard was long and white and neatly kept, and there were rings of dull silver on his fingers, and across his back, wrapped in oiled cloth against the weather, he carried the unmistakable shape of a lute, worn pale at the edges from years of handling. A bard, then, a teller of tales and a singer of songs, one of that old wandering kind who go from hold to hold and hall to hall, trading a story for a bed and a song for a supper. His eyes, when he turned them on you, were bright beneath their white brows, the deep and patient brightness of a man who has walked every road in Skyrim twice over and found each one worth the walking. He studied you a moment, not unkindly, and then he smiled. "You have the look of a long road behind you," he said. His voice was warm and worn and unhurried, a voice made for firesides, and the look of someone who would just as soon not think about the road ahead for a good long while. He nodded slowly, as though you had agreed with him, though you had said nothing at all. "Well, that is the very best time for a story, when you are warm and fed and safe behind good walls, and you have nowhere in the world you need to be before morning." He unwrapped the old lute and laid it across his knees, though he did not yet play it, only rested his hands upon it. "They call me Bragi," he said. "I have been telling tales in this country since before your father was born, and I never tire of it. and the mayor here has the best fire in Whiterun for the purpose. Will you let an old man tell you a few to pass the storm? There is no hurry. You may close your eyes if you like. Many do." You nodded, and old Bragi settled himself more deeply onto the bench, and he looked for a while into the fire, gathering the first tale the way a man gathers water in his hands. And then he began. "Every country has a beginning," said Bragi, "and this one begins in the north and in the cold, which will not surprise you tonight. Long ago, longer than the reckoning of kings, the folk of Skyrim did not live here at all. They lived across the sea, on a land called Atmara, which means the elder wood, far up in the frozen top of the world. And Atmara grew colder, year upon year, until at last the ice began to take it, and the people knew they must go or die. So they built ships, great long ships with dragon-carved prows, and they set out south across the water into the unknown, looking for a new and kinder land." He smiled into the fire. "The sea they crossed is still called the Sea of Ghosts, and if ever you stand on the northern shore and look out at that grey and heaving water full of ice, you will understand the name. Many ships were lost, but some came through, and the man who led them was called Iskramor, and he is the father of us all, the first of the Nords, and it was he who set his boot at last upon the shore of this land and found it good." "They landed in the far north," Bragi went on, "at a place called Hisaric Head, and they built a city there, the first city of men in Skyrim, and for a while all was well. But this land was not empty when they came to it. There were elves here already, the Snow Elves, an old and proud and beautiful people, and for a time men and elves lived side by side. It did not last. There was a terrible night, a betrayal, a burning, and Iskramor and but 2 of his sons escaped it and sailed back to Atmora carrying the grief of it. And there Ysgramor raised a company, 500 of the strongest and bravest warriors of the old land, and they are remembered still as the 500 companions. And they came back across that grey and dreadful sea to make a home in Skyrim that would endure, and endure it has. Every stone of every city in this land, this very tavern, these very walls, stands because 500 cold and stubborn souls refused, long ago, to give up on the idea of home." Bragi tapped the arm of the bench with one silver-ringed finger. "And I will tell you a small thing, to bring that old tale close. Iskramor's own shield companions, when their wandering was done, built themselves a mead hall to grow old in, and that hall still stands. It is here, in this city, up the hill, not a quarter mile from where you sit, its roof shaped like the upturned hull of a mighty longship. But that," he said, and he took a slow sip from his own cup, "is the next tale." The fire settled with a soft collapse of embers, and somewhere behind you Hulda moved among the tables, and a log was laid on, and the flames climbed again, brighter, throwing the old bard's shadow up the wooden pillar and across the rafters. The wind pressed against the walls and found no way in. You drew your feet up onto the bench and pulled your cloak about you and settled deeper, and old Bragi waited until you were still again, and then he went on. "That hall I spoke of is called Jorvaska," he said, "and it is the oldest building in all of Whiterun, older than the palace, older than the walls. When the 500 companions had won their long wars and were weary of them, some of them climbed this hill above the plain and turned their ship over and made of it a home, and there they founded a company that has never once, in all the long ages since, disbanded. They are called the Companions, still, after those first 500, and they are warriors, the finest in Skyrim. But do not mistake them for soldiers. They serve no king, and no jarl, and no coin. They are a family, a man or a woman who has grown too restless for the farm, too large in the heart for a quiet life, may climb that hill and ask to join them, and if they prove worthy, they are taken in as a shield brother or a shield sister, and they never want for a home or a hearth or a hand at their back again. They hire out their strong arms to folk with troubles too big to handle alone, a beast in the fields, a road gone dangerous, and they take their pay in honor more than gold. And when the day's work is done, they come back down to Jorvasker, and they feast at the long table, and they argue and they sing, the way that family does, late into the night, up there on the hill above you, even now, even tonight, while the snow falls. Bragi's voice dropped, and a small amused light came into his eyes. There are stories about the companions, mind you, old whispers. Some say that the eldest and most secret of them carry a strange blood, a gift or a curse depending on who is telling it, that lets them take the shape of great wolves under the moons and run the tundra all night on 4 legs and wake in the grass at dawn remembering only the joy of it. He waved a hand gently, as if brushing the thought away like smoke. But that is a tale for a wilder night than this one, and I would not put such things in your head just as you are trying to sleep. Let us only say that the folk on the hill are old and proud and kinder than their scars would suggest, and leave the moons out of it. He smiled. It is a good thing, I have always thought, to fall asleep in a city that is guarded by a family of heroes, even if they do not know your name, even if you never climb the hill to meet them. They are up there all the same. When Bragi paused, you became aware of the room again, the low, steady fire, the few quiet folk, the snow gathering on the dark little windows. He followed your drowsy glance toward the door. You will have passed beneath the old tree, coming in, he said. The great pale one that stands in the middle of the square, bare as bone in the snow. There is a tale in that tree too, if you would hear it. You must have nodded, for he went on. It is called the Gildergreen, and it is sacred here, sacred to Kinnereth, who is the goddess of the sky, and the wind, and all green and growing things. Long ago that tree was not bare at all. It stood in full and glorious blossom the whole year round, a great soft canopy of pink flowers in the very heart of the city, and folk would come from all across the hold simply to sit beneath it, in the slow drift of its petals, and feel a little of the goddess's peace settle over them. There is a small temple beside it still, and gentle priests who tend it, and folk bring them their sicknesses and their sorrows and their small daily fears, and are heard and are comforted. A great storm broke the tree long years ago. A bolt of lightning out of a black sky split its heart and stopped its flowering, and it has stood bare ever since, grey and sleeping through every season. But here is the gentle part and the true part. The folk did not cut it down. They did not give up on it. They tend it still, bare as it is, and they keep the old faith that one day a living cutting might be carried back from the sap of the oldest tree in the world, in its hidden grove far away, and set to the Gildergreen, and wake it, and it will blossom again over this city as it did in the old days. Brigi smiled into the embers. I have always been fond of a people who will keep faith with a sleeping tree, who will tend something bare and grey through winter after winter, on nothing but the memory of its flowers and the quiet hope of their return. There is something in that worth carrying up to bed with you, I think, that nothing is ever quite so finished as it looks in the dark, that the bare tree in the snow is only sleeping and dreaming, like the rest of us, of the spring. You had, without quite noticing, let your eyes fall closed while he spoke, and you opened them again now only halfway, enough to see the fire, the turning herbs, the old man's kind and firelit face. He had taken up his lute at last and was turning the pegs, tuning it in soft, low notes that seemed to belong to the crackle of the fire, part of the same warm sound. Holder passed by and refilled your cup without a word and pressed a warm hand briefly to your shoulder and moved on. Old Bragi plucked one long, low string and let it ring, and then he set the lute down again across his knees, for the next tale, it seemed, was one to be told and not sung. "Now," he said, "I have told you of men. Let me tell you of dragons. For this land is named for them, in the old speech. Skyrim, the folk down south say, but in the dragon tongue it was Kizal, the throat of the world, and there is a mountain here that carries that very name, the tallest mountain in all the world, its peak so high it stands above the weather, in a country of eternal snow and silence. In the eldest days, before men, the dragons ruled here. Great and terrible and beautiful they were, and near immortal, and they did not think as we think or feel as we feel. To them 100 years was an afternoon. They ruled from the mountain tops, and men served them and worshipped them as gods. For what else can you do with a god that breathes fire and speaks storms? For the dragons had a power in their voices. This is the heart of the old magic of this land, and it is a strange and wonderful thing. The dragons could speak, and when they spoke in their own tongue, the world listened. A word could push a man off his feet like a gale. A word could set the air on fire, or freeze a river, or call the frost down out of a clear sky. They call it the voice, the thumb. Bragi let that strange word hang a moment in the warm air. "And here is the wonder of it," he said more softly. "That power did not die with the age of dragons. It was given to men. There is an order of old masters who live up on that highest mountain in a monastery called High Hrothgar, halfway to the sky. They are called the Greybeards, and they have given their whole lives to the study of the voice, and they have grown so powerful in it that they can no longer speak as you and I do. A word of greeting from a greybeard would shake the snow from the mountainside, and so they live in silence, in the cold and the cloud, speaking only in whispers, meditating on a single word of power for years at a time. Pilgrims climb to them. There is a stair cut into the mountain, 7,000 steps it is said, winding up through the snow and the mist, past old carved tablets that tell the history of the world to any who will stop and read them as they climb. Few make the whole journey, but those who do say that at the top there is a silence so deep and so complete that you can hear your own heart, and the whole of Skyrim laid out below you like a map made of cloud, and a piece that is worth every one of the 7,000 steps. "I made that climb once," said old Bragi, "when my knees were younger. I will tell you honestly, I remember the piece at the top, but mostly I remember the steps." And he chuckled, low and warm, at his own expense, and took a drink. Outside, the wind gusted and fell, and a little breath of cold air came in under the door and made the fire lean and gutter before it steadied. Someone across the room laughed softly at something, and a cup was set down, and the old farmer in the corner snored and shifted and slept on. It was the sound of a room full of people who are safe and warm and in no hurry, and it is one of the best sounds in all the world to fall asleep beside. You had slid down a little on the bench now, your head against the wooden pillar, the cup warm between your two hands, and you did not answer Bragi, and he did not seem to expect it. He only glanced at you to see that you were comfortable and went on. "The dragons are not all gone, you know," he said, and his voice was very gentle now, the voice you would use to tell a child a story that ought not to frighten them. There is a prophecy, an old one, older than the king's. It says that in the last days a dragon will return who is not like the others, the eldest and the first of them, the World Eater. The old tablets call him Alduin, whose wings blot out the sun. And it is said that he comes at the ending of every age to swallow the world so that it may begin again. But the prophecy says something else too. And this is the part one like, and the part worth carrying up to bed with you. It says that when the World Eater returns, so too will one who can stand against him, a mortal born of the blood of dragons without knowing it, who can learn to speak the dragon tongue as easily as breathing, who can use the voice not through a lifetime of study on a cold mountain but as a birthright. They call this one Dovahkiin, the Dragonborn. Nobody knows when they will come or who they will be. A farmer, perhaps, a traveler on a lonely road, someone who does not even know what sleeps inside them until the day the world needs it woken. I rather like that, myself, that the one who saves the world might, this very night, be sitting quietly by some fire, somewhere, having no idea, warm and tired and thinking of nothing at all. And he looked at you when he said it, with a small and gentle twinkle, and then away again into the flames, so that you could not quite tell whether he was teasing you, and it did not seem to matter, and you let your eyes fall shut. The old bard let you rest a while in the quiet, warming his hands at the low fire, and then he stirred, as though a thought had drifted up to him out of the flames. "You are a traveler," he said, "so here is a tale cut to your own measure. Have you noticed, on the long lonely roads of this country, the old standing stones? They are scattered all across Skyrim, at crossroads and hilltops and quiet bends in the road. Great tall stones, weathered smooth by more winters than anyone can count, older than the Nords, older maybe than the Elves, set there by hands nobody remembers, for reasons nobody ever wrote down. But the folk of this land have always known what they are for. They are a blessing for the road. Each stone carries a different gift, carved faint upon its face. There is the warrior, and the warrior's stone lends strength to the arm of any who pause beneath it. There is the mage, whose stone quickens the mind. There is the thief, for the quick and the lucky and the light of foot. And there are others, further out, older and stranger, for the folk who go seeking them. A traveler who keeps the old ways will stop when they pass one, and lay a bare hand upon the cold stone, and stand a moment in its shelter, and take the blessing for the miles ahead. It costs nothing, a moment of quiet, a moment of stillness on a long road, a small act of faith that the land itself is watching over you and means you well. Brigai smiled. I have laid my hand on every one of those stones in my long years, some of them 100 times over, and I could not honestly tell you whether they ever made me one whit stronger, or quicker, or wiser. But I will tell you what they did do, every single time. They made me stop. They made me stand still in a wide and quiet country, and feel the wind, and look up at the sky, and remember that I was only a small and living thing, passing gently through a very old and patient land. And that, I have come to believe, is blessing enough. It may even be the whole of what those old stones were ever really for. For a while old Bragi said nothing, and there was only the fire, and the wind, and the soft small movements of the room. Then Halder came and banked the great fire down a little for the night, and the light in the tavern grew dimmer and redder and warmer still, and the shadows came up soft and close and friendly, and the whole room seemed to settle towards sleep together, like a great animal lying down. Bragi waited, patient as the mountains, until the quiet had deepened, and then he spoke again, more softly than before, as though the next tale were a secret, or a lullaby. "Let me tell you now of the deep folk," he said, "for it is the strangest of all the tales I carry, and the best, I think, for a night like this. I told you there were elves here when men came. The snow elves were one kind, but there was another, and they did not live upon the land at all. They lived beneath it. They were called the Dwemer, which means the deep folk, though the common tongue has worn that down over the years to a simpler word, the dwarves. They were not dwarves as the children's stories tell it, short and merry and digging for gold. They were tall and clever and cold and proud beyond the telling of it, and they were the greatest builders and makers the world has ever seen. Beneath these mountains, in the living rock, they carved whole cities, cities of brass and stone, with halls the size of valleys and pillars like the trunks of great trees, all lit by a soft and steady glow, and threaded through with pipes of steam and rivers of hidden fire. And they made machines. This is the wonder of it. They made things of metal that could move on their own, that could walk and keep watch and toil, and even, some say, think, after a fashion. Guardians of burnished bronze that paced the deep halls and needed no sleep and no food and no rest, only the endless patient work their makers had set them. Bragi leaned a little closer, and his voice dropped almost to a whisper. And then, one day, they vanished. All of them, every dwarf in the world, in a single moment, gone. There was a war, the old tellings say, and something they did in the deep places, some working of theirs that reached too far and touched something it should never have touched, and in the space of a single heartbeat an entire people simply ceased to be. They left no bodies, no graves, no ashes, only their empty cities humming softly in the dark, their lamps still glowing, their machines still turning, their great engines still breathing steam into halls where no living thing had walked for thousands of years. You can go down into those places still, if you are brave or foolish. There are doors to them scattered all through these mountains, and folk who have gone down and come back up alive all say the same thing, that it is not the danger that stays with you, it is the quiet, the terrible patient quiet of a great and beautiful machine that is still running, still keeping faith, still doing the work it was made for, long, long after everyone who ever knew its purpose has gone. Bragi shook his head slowly, with the wonder of it, an old wonder that plainly had not worn smooth in all his years. A whole people, and all their brilliance, gone in a moment, and only their patient machines left turning in the dark to remember them. There is no sadder or stranger tale in all of Skyrim, and no better one, I think, to turn over gently in your mind as you drift off. All those quiet lamps still burning deep under the mountains, under the snow, under the very floor beneath your feet. For a little while, the old bard let the strangeness of that tale settle, and he filled his cup again from a jug Hulda had left near the fire, and the embers ticked and shifted. "Since I have taken you down into the dark," he said, "let me lift you back up into the cold, clear air and tell you of the mages of the north. On the far northern coast, where the land runs out at last into the grey and freezing sea of ghosts, there is a broken little town called Winterhold, and beyond the last of its houses, out past where the cliff has crumbled away into the sea, there stands a college. It is a strange and lonely place, a cluster of old stone towers upon a great spire of rock that rises straight up out of the crashing water, joined to the land by nothing at all but a single narrow bridge of stone, arching out over the drop, with the wind howling beneath it and the lights of the north burning overhead. To cross that bridge in a winter gale takes a stout heart, but at the far end of it, behind ancient doors, there is warmth and light and the greatest gathering of books and old learning anywhere in Skyrim. For this is where those born with a gift for magic come to study it. Not the fearful little hedge charms of the villages, but the deep old art itself, the shaping of fire and frost and light, the mending of wounded flesh, the calling of wards against harm. The folk of Skyrim are wary of it, if I am honest with you. The Nords are a practical people, fond of good steel and plain sense, and they look sidelong at the robed scholars out on their rock over the sea. But the mages keep to themselves and harm no one. And on a black winter night, if ever you are out on that northern road with the cold reaching deep into your chest, you can look up and see the top of their tower glowing, a soft blue light high in the dark, steady as a star. And you know that up there, behind all that storm and stone, someone is bent over a book by the light of a patient flame, chasing the oldest questions there are, warm and safe above the freezing water. I have always found that a comforting thing to see from the road, said Bragi, that however dark and cold the night, somewhere there is a lamp still lit, and someone reading quietly by it, keeping the old knowledge safe until morning comes. You are very warm now, and very heavy, sunk down into the bench with your cheek against the smooth old wood of the pillar, and the fire was a low red glow behind your closed eyes. You heard Hulda's voice, soft, somewhere, saying good night to someone, and the scrape of a bench, and a door, and the wind, and under it all the old bard's voice went on, unhurried, warm, a thread to follow down into sleep. You did not open your eyes again, but you were listening still, in the loose and drifting way of someone half in dream, and Bragi seemed to know it, and to gentle his voice accordingly, so that each tale now was quieter and slower and further away than the one before. I will tell you of a man who became a god, he said, for men do that, here, once in a very great while, and it is not the strangest thing about this country by half. His name was Tulos, though he had other names before he earned that one. He was born a man like any other, in the hard cold north, in an age of war when Skyrim and all the lands around it were broken into 100 quarreling pieces. And he was a warrior, and then a leader, and then a king, and then something more than a king. For he did what no one had done in an age. He took all the warring lands, one by one, not only by the sword, but by the love folk bore him, and he bound them together into a single great peace, an empire that stretched from the frozen north to the warm south, and for the first time in living memory, a traveler could walk from one end of the world to the other and sleep safe every night of the journey. And when at last his long life ended, the people did not believe that such a man could simply stop, and so they said that he had climbed up, at the end, into the seat of the gods, and taken his place among them, the ninth of the divines, a man raised up to heaven by the sheer weight of what he had done, and the love of the folk he had done it for. And to this day, all across Skyrim, in wayside shrines and in quiet corners, and in the hearts of stubborn old Nords, folk light candles to Talos, the god who was once a man, and ask him for a little of the strength that carried him so far. There are those now who would forbid it, Bragi added, softer still, and a small sadness moved through his voice like a cloud across the moon. Great powers to the south who say the worship must stop, and it is the cause of no end of grief in this land in these restless days. But that is a trouble for the daylight, and for the folk who must live in it, and not for you, tonight, warm by this fire. Tonight it is enough to know that once a man loved his people so well that they made a god of him, and that somewhere a candle is burning for him still. The tavern was nearly dark now, lit only by the low red heart of the banked fire and one small lamp by the counter. Most of the others had gone up to their beds or off into the snow, and those few that remained were quiet, drowsing, wrapped in the warmth. The old farmer still slept in his corner. The wind had softened to a long, low sigh against the walls, almost tender now, as though even the storm outside were growing tired and ready to lie down. You were more asleep than awake, and you knew it, and it was a good feeling, the very best of feelings, to be sliding down so gently into rest with a kind voice still speaking near you, and no reason in the world to surface. Bragai's next words came to you soft and broken, like something heard through deep water. Outside these walls, he was saying, out on the great plain you crossed to reach us, there are giants. Do not be afraid. They are gentle, mostly, if you leave them be. They are enormous, taller than a house, old as the hills, and they wander the tundra with their herds. And what they heard, if you can believe it, are mammoths, great shaggy mountains of beasts with tusks like curved ships, moving slow across the snow in the moonlight. The giants tend them as a shepherd tends his flock, and light their fires on the high places, and want nothing from anyone, only the wide cold country and the stars. On a clear night out there, you might see them, small dark shapes against the snow, and above them the whole sky alight, for in the far north the heavens themselves come alive after dark. Great slow curtains of green and violet light rippling and folding across the stars. The lights of the north, no one truly knows what they are. The old folk say they are the spirits of the honored dead, dancing. I have lain out on that plain on a summer night and watched them for hours, and I have never found a better answer than that one, nor wanted to. Bragi was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had gone very low and very warm. The last voice of the night, the one that knows its listener is nearly gone, and speaks to ease them the rest of the way. There is one tale left in me tonight, he said, and it is the gentlest of them all, and the right one to end on. Let me tell you where the brave go, in this country, when at last their long roads end. The Nords call it Sovngarde, he said. It is a hall, the greatest hall that ever was or will be, so vast that no eye can find the far end of it, its roof lost in a sky full of soft and endless light. It stands in a country beyond the country of the living, across a wide and misty land, and to reach it a soul must cross a bridge of whalebone arching up into the mist, and beyond that bridge the doors stand always open, and the light and the warmth and the sound of it spill out to welcome home every weary traveller who ever earned a place within. And inside there is feasting. Everyone who was ever brave, everyone who ever faced their fear and did the hard right thing anyway, everyone who lived with honor and died without flinching, they are all in there, all together at one endless table for all of time. The heroes of the oldest tales and the plainest farmer who once stood his ground, side by side, shield friends now, telling their stories, laughing, warm, home at last. There is no cold in Sovngarde. There is no fear, and no more roads to walk, and no more nights out in the snow. There is only the light, and the long table, and the good company, and the knowledge, sunk all the way down to the bottom of the soul, that the journey is over now, and that you may finally, safely, rest. That is where they go, said old Bragi very softly. And I have always thought that it must feel something like this, like coming in out of a long storm into a warm and firelit room, and being handed something hot to drink, and finding a seat by the fire, and hearing a friendly voice begin to tell you a story, and knowing, right down to your bones, that you do not have to go back out into the cold, not tonight, not ever again, that you are home. The fire was only embers now, a low and living red, breathing softly in the dark. Old Bragi's voice had grown so gentle, it was scarcely more than the sound of the fire itself, and you could no longer tell, drifting as you were, quite where his words ended and your own dreaming began. The snow whispered against the roof, the warm dark of the old tavern wrapped close around you and held you, as it has held so many travelers on so many winter nights, safe within good walls, while the storm wore itself out in the empty country beyond. If you enjoyed tonight's tales, you can support our little corner by liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment below. It helps these quiet nights find the weary travelers who need them. And if you are still awake, there will be another warm fire waiting for you on the screen when this one burns down. But there is no need to reach for it now. There is nothing left to do tonight, and nowhere left to go. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Let your hands lie open and easy. Breathe in, slow, and let it go. The fire is warm. The walls are strong. The old bard nods beside you in the last of the light, his tale all told, and the snow keeps its soft watch on the roof, and the city sleeps around you. And up on the hill the heroes keep their hall, and far beneath the mountains the old lamps burn on in the dark, and all of Skyrim is quiet and safe and still. You are warm. You are home. You have nowhere to be but here. Sleep well, my sleepy traveler, and good night.
you.